The interior of your car smells faintly like the coffee that spilled in the cup holder 3 weeks ago. The blue and red lights hit your rearview mirror and your stomach drops before your brain even has time to form a thought. You're already making the mistake. Right now, before the officer has even put the car in park, you are rushing. You're twisting your body, digging into the glove compartment, throwing papers around, searching for your registration like a squirrel trying to find a buried nut. You don't realize it, but you've just made yourself a high-risk threat in the officer's mind. That one frantic decision changes the entire tone of the next 15 minutes. Most people lose the traffic stop before they ever roll the window down. Here's the part no one tells you. By the time your lips form the words, "Good evening, officer," the decision about whether you get a warning or a ticket has already been made. The judgment is visual, and it's almost instant. There is a silent camera system rolling, and it isn't just on the patrol car's dash. It's behind the officer's eyes. It's scanning the speed of your movements. It's looking at the angle of your car on the shoulder. It's analyzing whether your hands are empty. This brings us back to that first lethal mistake, the frantic dive. To you, you're just being helpful, trying to get your paperwork ready so you don't waste their time. But to the officer approaching from the rear, your shoulders are dipping violently, your head is snapping up and down, and you're reaching into the deepest, darkest compartment of your dashboard. The trunk rattles, the cabin light flickers. They don't know you. They don't know if you're grabbing a Glock or a registration. Here's the problem. The brain of an officer in a high-stress, low-light environment isn't looking for a reason to punish you. It's looking for behavioral anomalies. We call these pre-attack indicators, and civilians trigger them by accident every single day. When you do that rummaging movement, you are screaming a threat cue, but your mouth is silent. Pay attention to this part because the visual dynamic changes everything. Imagine you're the officer now. You're walking up the passenger side, standing slightly behind the B-pillar of the car. This isn't random. They aren't standing there to smell your exhaust fumes. It's a tactical illusion. If you turn in your seat to look back at them, you have to twist your spine, which forces your right shoulder forward and traps your right arm against the seat. They designed their approach to give you the illusion of conversation while destroying your biomechanical ability to quickly pivot and aim a weapon. That's where this changes. If they're standing there and they see your hands on the steering wheel, dead still, with the dome light on if it's dark, they see a submissive and, more importantly, a predictable silhouette. Predictability is safety. Silence is safety. You aren't a person yet, you're a shape. And if that shape is calm, the fight-or-flight chemical dump in the officer's amygdala slams the brakes. If that shape is a tornado of flying insurance cards and a dark void where your right hand is, the chemical dump floods the system. This isn't about being a suck-up. It's about passing a risk assessment algorithm that is biologically hardwired into the human threat detection machine. But this goes deeper than just staying still. We have to talk about the curiosity gap that happens when the officer actually makes contact. That strange moment where they seem to just stand there, staring at you for a beat too long. That silence is deafening, and most people feel an uncontrollable urge to fill it. The officer walks up, looks at you, and before they even say anything, you blurt out, "I don't know why you pulled me over," or "What's the problem?" You've just verbally surrendered the bridge. You've opened with a defensive challenge. In high communication training, this is a failed probe. The officer is processing 1,000 data points. The scent of unburnt marijuana, the visual mass of objects in the back seat, the presence of a weapons holster on your hip. Let them look. That pause is their time to process. The first verbal interaction should not be a defense. It should be a reduction of the unknown. This is the exact phrase system, and you need to lock this into your memory because it acts as a psychological safe harbor. When they say "good evening," or "do you know why I stopped you?" the first words out of your mouth must be a calm, logistical declaration of non-aggression. You say, "Good evening, officer. The first thing I want you to know is I'm reaching for my wallet in my right back pocket, and my registration is in the glove box. How would you like me to proceed?" You just short-circuited the "what are you reaching for" mystery. You have placed a navigation beacon on your hands. You've given them control. You've told them, "I'm reaching for my wallet," which sounds so much more collaborative than "it's in my back pocket." That phrase, "how would you like me to proceed," might be the most powerful string of words in your entire vocabulary during a traffic stop. It acknowledges that you are in their office now, not your car. You are a guest in their jurisdiction, and guests who are respectful don't get treated like hostiles. Let's visualize the wrong scenario so you can feel the visceral difference. A driver named Alex gets lit up for a busted taillight. The siren chirps. Alex's heart immediately hits 140 BPM. He jerks the wheel hard, crossing the bike lane and kicking up gravel onto the sidewalk. The officer sees the aggressive swerve before the car is even in park. Alex kills the engine but leaves the radio blasting some bass-heavy track. The officer approaches and has to yell over the music to be heard. Alex begins frantically slapping the radio touchscreen, looking down, taking his eyes off the officer's approach vector. The window comes down and the officer sees a cloud of vape smoke roll out. Alex immediately starts shouting, "It's not mine. This isn't even my car." The officer hasn't said a word. Alex decides to prove his innocence by digging through the center console without announcing it. The officer's hand moves to the holster, not yet drawing, but establishing a weapon grip. The stop is 5 seconds old, and Alex has already exhausted the officer's patience. The ticket book is probably out not because you broke a traffic statute, but because you've become a safety liability. Now feel the rhythm of the right scenario. Same broken taillight. Same road. The lights flash. You don't slam the brakes. You gradually decelerate and signal neatly. You pull off into a well-lit gas station parking lot entrance rather than staying on a pitch-dark residential street. Pro tip: that choice to find light is massive. It signals to the officer, I am looking for a safe space for you to do your job so you don't get killed by a passing drunk driver. You turn off the engine. If it's dark, the interior lights go on. Your hands lock onto the top of the steering wheel, fingers spread. You don't look down at your phone to text your mom. You roll the window all the way down. The officer approaches, tactile flashlight beaming across the rear seats. There's no sudden movement. You make eye contact in the side mirror and offer a slight nod, acknowledging their presence. When they ask for the license, you don't move yet. You say, absolutely, I'm going to reach for my wallet in my back pocket. Slow hand, thin wallet, pull it out. The scene is quiet, predictable, and cooperative. In this scenario, the officer's cognitive load is so low that they actually have the mental capacity to notice you're just a normal person driving home from a long shift. The odds of a have a nice night, fix that light just skyrocketed. If this is helping you understand how much unspoken influence you actually have over these interactions, hit subscribe. We're breaking down the psychology of these systems in simple, real-world terms every week, keeping you informed instead of panicked. This goes back to the reality that you don't need to know the entire penal code. You just need to know what works. And what works is understanding the observer effect. In a traffic stop, there are basically 3 minutes where you are completely under a microscope. Officers are trained to apply the Reed technique or variations of it, behavioral analysis interviews, normal nervousness is expected. But there's a difference between baseline nervousness and deceptive nervousness. Baseline nervousness is sweaty palms, shaky voice. Deceptive nervousness is providing excessive, unnecessary detail, physically stepping away from the officer to block your trunk view, or looking back at the vehicle repeatedly while standing outside. That's a classic retrieve failure fix, meaning your brain is screaming, I hope they don't find the thing. If you stay out of the vehicle, if you stand still while they run your license, you remove the sneaky movement variable completely. There's another threat signal failing points on a vehicle stop, and it's the passenger. The officer isn't just scanning you, they're scanning the silhouette of the person in the seat next to you. If your passenger is sitting stiff as a board, staring straight ahead, or worse, turned around staring at the officer through the back window, it sends alarm bells. Instruct your passengers simply. Hands on the dash or lap, eyes forward, mouth shut. That's not giving away your rights, it's displaying safety. Here is the final tightrope, asserting your rights without triggering a physical threat response. You do not need to consent to a vehicle search to be polite. In fact, you can maintain that perfect barrier of courtesy while firmly maintaining your Fourth Amendment protection. The officer says, you mind if I take a look inside? The wrong scenario is the guy who puffs his chest out and shouts, get a warrant, I know my rights. That's a combative challenge. The right scenario is calm, kind, but immovable. Officer, I appreciate you keeping the road safe, but I don't consent to searches as a matter of principle. You've separated the person from the policy. You're not a criminal, you're just a person who reads the Constitution. That one line delivered without a sneer usually leaves the officer with zero social ammunition to escalate against you. You've killed the alpha ego battle. So let's bring it back to that initial heartbeat moment. Before you even speak, your silhouette has already spoken. Your hands have already testified. Your vehicle's position on the road has already handed down a verdict. This isn't about being scared of the police. It's about mastering your half of the interaction so that the encounter de-escalates itself naturally. The framework you'll remember: stop with intention, not panic. Illumination is your friend. Hands high and frozen until commands are given. Verbally narrate any reach, and when in doubt, asking, how would you like me to proceed, strips the tension out of the air faster than any argument ever could. You don't control the color of the flashing lights, but you absolutely control the body language that greets them. The next time those lights hit your mirror, are you going to create a chaotic signal, or are you going to give the officer a reason to walk back to their cruiser feeling safe? The choice happens in the space between the siren and the silence, and that choice is entirely yours to make.